Currently on our profile page, we have this placeholder text. In this video, we're going to set up a Angular Material card so we could display the user's name and bio. We'll also set up the Angular Material button component so the user can click on a button to update their profile information. Let's head over to the documentation and take a look at an example to get started. On the left, I have the card component selected, and then under the Overview tab, we'll be implementing the Mat Card element. And within this basic example that they have here, they're using the Mat Card element, then also the Appearance attribute with a value outlined. That basically means it's going to give it like a neat border outline instead of the usual raised shadow look. And then inside of this Mat Card element, you could use different elements. There's several different elements you could pick from. For example, we'll be placing the user's name within the Mat Card header. We'll also have a profile image, so we'll use the image tag and then the Mat Card image. Then the user is going to have a button they could click on to update their profile, and we'll put that button within this Mat Card Actions element. Instead of creating all this from scratch, we can just use an example that they have on the examples page here. Like for example, this is a good start here. We want to also include a profile image like this example they have here. Let's use this example. I'll open up the code and we'll start off by adding this example within our HTML. But before we could do anything within our template, we need to bring in the modules. We'll need two modules in this example, the Mat Button module and also the Mat Card module. I'll copy both of these and we'll start in our TypeScript file. This is the first time we're working inside of the User Profile Manager component, and if you're following along with the project, you can find that under the Pages folder, and then within the User Profile Manager, you'll find the component. And the first thing we'll do is we'll bring in our modules, and then also add them to the import. So I'll add that here. And don't forget the Mat Card module. I'll add that towards the end. That's the only changes we'll need within the TypeScript file for now. And then moving on to the HTML. And we'll replace this p tag with the snippet from the documentation. And we'll start with the first line, the Mat Card element. So this acts as a container for the rest of our sections. And here they're setting a class to the example card. I'll remove this. We'll add in our own class shortly. And then we'll also use the appearance attribute and give it a nice outlined border to our card. Inside of the Mat Card, there's multiple sections. And as we were looking at in the documentation, you could use the Mat Card header. Also, we have directives like the Mat Card image and the Mat Card avatar, Mat Card content, and also the Mat Card actions for our buttons. Each section could also have child elements from Angular Material Card, like the Mat Card title. We'll be using this for the user's profile name. And also the Mat Card subtitle. We'll use this for the bio. Here we can add in a profile image. They're setting it to a div, a background to the div. And they're doing that through the style sheet. We'll do that a little different. We'll use an image, just a regular image tag. I'll copy this or just cut it out and then add it here. The Mat Card image directive is usually placed after the header or content section outside of the Mat Card header. So we don't want to use that within this header section. We can actually use the avatar since we're inside the header section, the Mat Card header. And now we could get rid of this div. And we'll need to update the source attribute with the profile image. And by the way, you can find this within the public folder. If you open up the directory and inside the public folder, you'll find that profile image if you're following along within the project. Next, we'll update the alt attribute, and this will be our profile avatar image. Now the title, we could get this information from our TypeScript file, and this is already set up for us. We have the user object with a name and bio. So we'll use this user inside of our card title. I'll replace this with the double brackets, then username. And that goes for this as well, and we'll replace this with the bio. And that's what you want your card header to look like. And then the card content, we don't actually need this. We'll remove this section. Inside the card actions, we only need one button, so I'll remove the second one here. We'll update the matte button to use the matte flat button. That'll give it a background color to our button. And then we'll update the text to edit profile. And that's the only changes we need to make for now. I'll save it so it formats it. Before we add our styles, let's see what this looks like in the browser. This is looking really good. So we have this outline border to our card, thanks to the appearance attribute we applied to the matte card element. And then within our header, the matte card header section, we have the title, and we have our bio section that is the subtitle, and also the avatar image is being applied. Then within the matte action section, we have our edit profile button. Now we could apply our own styles to this. Like for example, we could add a margin to the top of this card here, bump it off the header a little bit. Also, we could set a overall width to the card, and we could update our button here where it could have a larger width as well. Let's apply those styles. Inside of our style sheet, I'll add in a snippet. And we have two classes. One is going to be for the outer container, the matte card element. And that's going to set a max width of 600 pixels. And then give it a little bit of margin. That'll bump it off the top a little bit. And then the other one is for the profile action button. And that's going to give it a width of 100%. We'll add this profile action class to our button first. Going into our button, the edit profile button, I'll add in the class attribute. Then within the matte card class, we'll add in the profile card. That's the only changes we need to make. Let's see what this looks like in the browser. This looks way better. I think the button looks better with a larger width. And also we have margin on the top, and you can also set a width to your cards. Now in the next video, let's add some functionality to this edit profile button. So when the user selects this button, we will open up a dialog so they can update their profile. And we'll do that in the next video.